Hello and welcome to Humans of Fuzia. I'm Riya Sinha, your host, and today we have the pleasure of welcoming Dr. Archana Dubey. She is the Global Medical Director at HP, an Adjunct Assistant Professor at Stanford, and the founder of Invent Health, an incubator platform for digital health. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Riya, for inviting me for this interview. I'm really excited to share my learnings and anything to do with healthcare and the scientific aspect of healthcare with all the audience of Fuzia.
Okay, so my first question is pretty basic. It's just like to briefly introduce yourself and what is the work that you're doing now and kind of what led you to that?
Yeah, so I actually work my three-pronged role, so to say, at HP is I work with their health and benefits team for their population that is sprinkled across the world. Especially, we have around 70,000 people, employees, and their families that I look at their population health statistics and trends, and then I look at what are the solutions that we have available in different parts and regions of the world. And then we create solutions that help them with their healthcare needs and then also be proactive. So we do use a lot of predictive analytics and add artificial intelligence and machine learning tools in this time and age and are being proactive in providing care for our population. The second aspect of my role at HP is I see patients. So we partner with a company called Crossover Health that provides on-site, near-site, and virtual healthcare for large companies and organizations. So in order to see patients, I work with them, and I have a team of individuals, doctors, nurses, physical therapists, chiropractors, and acupuncturists, optometrists. They work for me to help the care for the population. And the third aspect I do for HP or help HP with is their healthcare products. Even I was not aware that HP has about 68% footprint in healthcare with their printer and PCs and other products and software that they supply for healthcare organizations like Kaiser, Stanford. So I work with their future healthcare products. Some are in the stealth mode and some are very much available to the healthcare community. So that's my work over at HP. It's quite a plateful.
Yeah, wow, that sounds amazing. I think my next question is mostly about how does your culture, your background, kind of your childhood inform the way that you make decisions now and the career that you've taken and things like that?
Yeah, so I was raised in India and born and brought up and went to medical school there. My dad retired to be the chief of police academy in India, and I was slated to go and join the police service. I was very excited. It was serving the people, and anybody who is honestly serving people can influence, especially from police or any administrative service, can actually impact lives of thousands of people. And that was very inspirational for me. I saw my dad doing that day in and day out. But one night, so many years ago, we had what's called a Bhopal gas tragedy, in which there is methyl isocyanide, which is a chemical that got leaked from a factory in Bhopal. And we were very close to Bhopal. We used to live there. And I saw in front of my eyes this human tragedy that happened. People died in their sleep. About 20,000 people died. And several more were injured by scarred eyes and scarred lungs. And that was very touching for me personally. And I saw that I could serve people in different ways than going into police. And so I chose to go into healthcare field, and my parents were very supportive. And that was kind of the turning point for my life. And that influenced and almost shaped my life going forward. And what it also brought in is a strong core value of empathy, because I could see people's pain, people's troubles, and also knew what I needed to do to solve for it. And that was very influential for me in a very young age. I was 16 when it happened. And that kind of carved my path to starting to work as a physician. And then I came to the US and went to Columbia University, and then thereafter USC to finish my training over here. And that's kind of the journey to being a physician. Coming to HP was important because as a healthcare physician, we are only putting a band-aid on healthcare needs.
Mm-hmm.
We only see a little tiny bit of a patient. And I wanted to get closer to the stakeholders. Who is really making the decision? Is that the patient? Is that the doctor? Or is that the one who is paying for it? And I noticed that I needed to have an influence on all three.
Yeah.
And in my current role, I'm able to influence not just being a doctor and guiding my patients in that journey, but also influencing the payer of that service to be able to be on the side of the patient rather than on the side of business. So all of these things kind of brought me to this journey and brought me into this role.
No, wow, that's actually really amazing. I didn't realize that that ever happened before, like in the past, like the Bhopal gas tragedy and stuff.
Yeah. It was very it at least we were able to make something positive out of something negative that happened. And it's so apparent now that we are in the midst of another tragedy in front of our eyes, pandemic, and it comes very naturally as we are in the midst of pandemic. How and what happened during the tragedy is to a much bigger scale now happening in the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah.
And just as I lead my COVID task force at HP and other organizations, all of those learnings at a smaller scale that I learned in Bhopal are coming now at a bigger scale. So I'm really, in a way, it was an unfortunate event, but I'm thankful that I was witness of it and at least could learn something from it.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And I think my next question is kind of similar to that. It's like, what are some topics, or like 3 top topics that you're most passionate about in life or just in general?
So I think most passionate I am is to help people. That's my core value, is to serve people. It's serving either my patients, my team. I'm a servant leader, so to say, and I've had a very, very loyal team. And I don't ask for loyalty. It comes to me because I care about my team a lot. I serve the large organizations that I work with. So it's kind of a common thread across my my work in every field, that I love to serve people who are in need. And that helps me personally to feel worthwhile and fulfilled. So it is not that I'm making somebody else's life better. I do realize that makes my life better to be able to serve people. The second thing is I am very innovative. I always ask the question how and why, and how can we do things differently. So it never really there's never has been a box for me that has been invented. Everybody says that. So I always think outside the box, and that's why I haven't never taken a very traditional path even as a clinician. So as a clinician, I am in a role that only a handful of physicians are in the country, because I chartered that way and wanted to do more than what a traditional physician would have done. So that's the second core value, so to say, the innovative aspect of it, or entrepreneurial aspect of it. And then third is I really value being physically active.
Yeah.
And that's I just feel like life is an experience, and I love to experience every aspect of it. So it's a mind-body play. And if I care for my body, my mind works well. And if I care for my mind, my body works well. And so I do, I'm very much focused on self-care in the aspect of, being very active and eating well, exercising, and being mindful of every moment.
Okay, no, I definitely agree with all 3. And I think even though they're different, they all kind of intertwine in like many different ways, I feel like. My next question is like, what are some challenges that you face in your maybe your initial years of your career, and like what are some challenges that you even like face today?
So I would put it that the challenges that I faced were also opportunities. So, initial years of my life, the challenges that I faced were, we were from a very mediocre family. My dad was an honest police officer, and he only made so much money. And so, what it helped me to, it was a challenge because, even buying books and supplies and other things, and of course fashion was not even in the picture, because that was like we had to stick with basic necessities. And what it was a challenge in a way, but it also was an opportunity for us to be innovative around how do we scale a certain amount of resource and become resourceful, and not let lack of resource become a reason for not succeeding in your life. And so that was one of the aspects. And my parents feel poorly about it because we were not financially very, very sound. But they also can see that how much we value what we have today, how much grateful we are for what we have today. And then also that we are able to be very frugal about our resources that we have today. So we are more sustainable. I feel like we are able to not waste and use the resources of Earth in a much more sustainable way. So that's kind of one of the challenges that if you want to call it challenges. The second one that I feel was that transition between one country to the other, learning a new culture, learning a new accent, learning to know that you're different than everybody else. When you're in India, you look like everyone else. You almost like presume and assume that this is what life is. When you come to the US, you not only look different, you sound different. You have to quickly learn how to use the word pediatrics to pediatrics, how to express yourself. So those are the things that I appreciated. It was a challenge, but I appreciated every time somebody corrected my accent, because it helped me to be more communicative with my patients. So that was the second one. And the third one that I noticed as in my current career is the glass ceiling that we have for women, and that how you could grow a certain point and then you plateau off. And that's I think with Fuzia as a platform that we have, I am sure this is a universal experience that most women are facing as a challenge. But then I tell my team and I tell myself too, when you hit a wall, you walk through it. And that's something that you have to learn to understand, that there is always a path forward. There's never really a glass ceiling. Some of this ceiling is one that you build for yourself. So you have to either figure out to walk through it or walk around it, but there's always a way to grow. And so that's something that the third challenge that I encounter being a woman, but it's never been a weak Achilles tendon for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great mindset to have, like, as you get older. And then one of my last questions is, like, what are you looking forward to in the future? Like, do you have any new opportunities or any new projects that you'd be looking forward to?
Yes, so I do. I am looking forward to getting closer to more innovation, more futuristic products. I have put myself through school in artificial intelligence and machine learning at Stanford, and I want to be able to apply that in healthcare. I don't think machines will ever replace a physician or a nurse or any healthcare provider, but the machines will make us superhuman. And that's what I feel I need to be closer to and be part of. And I'm doing that work in some shape or form at HP, but I want to scale that more.
Wow, that's actually really interesting. I think there's definitely a huge like field of opportunity in like healthcare and like healthcare startups that I've seen as well, like from a young person standpoint. So
yeah,
that's really interesting. My last question was, like, do you have any message for like other women who are watching this, like the audience?
Yes, I would love to meet myself at a young age and advise myself to take more risks and be less fearful of failure.
Mhm.
And the risks is more in the direction of professional growth. Not risks like, drive crazy or, do substances of recreation. But I'm
Yeah.
talking about risks of, if you have an idea, go for it. If you feel that you can solve a problem, go for it. Because the earlier you do it, the sooner you would learn. So many things you learn from failure. I learned that in tennis. I play tennis.
Mhm.
The ball that I miss or the ball that I hit poorly teaches me a lot more than the ball that I hit well. The game that I win, I learn a lot less than a game that I lose.
Yeah.
So it is very, very important for most of us who are listening that take your risk early, fail early, learn early, and you will be so much ahead in what your dream or vision is from your life.
That's a really actually inspiring message. If there's any, is there anything else that you'd like to add or anything more?
Well, I would also say that there will be challenges. I mentioned that before.
Mhm.
Each of these challenges are also opportunities.
Yes.
So never they are opportunities in disguise.
Mhm.
So never let them knock you down. Just kind of think what this is trying to tell you, and you will find the opportunity hidden in it. So most of the challenges that I faced were only ways for me to um, have a leapfrog into a much better future. So that's what I would suggest. If any of you are facing any challenges, they're really opportunities to grow much faster exponentially.
No, I think that's also something we need to hear, like in the middle of this pandemic and this crazy year.
Yes.
But I think it's so good that we're able to like, have these challenges and we can turn those into like opportunities to like make a better future. And I think that's definitely like just a huge part of life, especially now. So yeah, those are all my questions. Thank you so much for being on Humans of Fuchsia. And yeah, let me know if you have anything else to add or anything else to say.
Now, I absolutely enjoy going on Fusia, and I have seen the platform. It's so empowering, and in a very unique way, you're touching people's lives. And when people are thinking they're at the end of their rope, Fusia is providing that ray of hope. And I think that's what we all need to do in our time right now, especially in the middle of pandemic, when you
Yeah.
are having some time to be more internal than external.
Yeah.
Uh, it's a time to make your own jigsaw puzzle
Yeah.
and and build your life.
Yes. Thank you so much.